Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Pain to Profits. And every single week, we're bringing on entrepreneurs. We want to help you guys save time and level up on the entrepreneurial journey. And a big part of what we're doing is we're unpacking the no BS hard stuff.
Okay.
The going from pain to profits. And today I got my friend Daniel James Vandenberg, DJM Design and Media, all things media. We're going to talk about the hardship of starting up, integrating into the American culture as a South African, running a distributed workforce. I want to talk a lot about that. We're going to talk about some AI. But before we jump in, I got the coolest compliment. He said I'm like a mix of Joe Rogan and Alex Hormozi. So before we go too far, thank you. But
pleasure.
What is it that makes me Joe Rogan and Alex Hormozi? Is it
Okay, so
it's not my calves. Alex Hormozi's got great calves.
Yeah. Alex with the buffness, right? And let's put this on silent.
He's coming. Comes to the meeting with his phone on. Unbelievable.
Guys, so what happens when you leave? Okay, let's get into it. So I'm driving. Do we need to punch that again, or we just go?
No,
okay.
we just rock it. This is how it should be.
I'm driving over, and it's been on my thought. I'm like, what is Samson doing? Like, what is this concept he's rolling with? And I'm like, you know what? It's totally Alex Hormozi and Dave Ramsey for multiple, not Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, don't call me Dave Ramsey.
No, Alex Hormozi and Joe Rogan. Number one, the buffness from Alex, and number two,
and we both are in the gym business.
Like very but you've done it way like different in your own way prior to even knowing about Alex Hormozi.
Yeah.
And then with Joe Rogan, your setup has become so casual and enjoyable that it's like we're having conversations, we're like deep thinking, you guys are pushing like some cool entrepreneurial thought leaders.
I like that. One of the things I like about Joe Rogan,
Tell me,
is he can talk about a lot of different things, and he's pretty educated on it. So I enjoy that process of just learning.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty fun. What I like about Alex Hormozi is he's very frameworks driven,
sure,
which are relatable to me.
Yeah.
But I didn't go to business school.
Okay, yeah.
I got a degree in human physiology.
Come on.
Makes perfect sense.
Hey, you got to learn, right?
Yeah, I guess that's what they call it. Well, at least I wasn't like some of my teammates who got degrees in like Native American studies. So I'm like, what are you going to do with that when football doesn't work out? But
come on. Figure it out.
But speaking of Joe Rogan and random things, before we jumped on the pod, you were talking about monkeys.
This is great.
in South Africa.
South Africa. Yeah. So, so squirrels are like monkeys in South Africa. Okay, just to break that down for you guys. And so we have a ton of them, and they're all kinds of shapes and sizes. But there's a specific one in the desert that is phenomenal in the sense that, you know, if you need water, there's a tribe called the Khoisan people. They are excellent hunters, probably like one of the most studied. They can survive with almost nothing, right? Like they got their short leather skins on, and they're kind of like they're like multicolored skin. It's like really interesting, you know. Like they're the original mixed race type people, but they're not mixed race. They're like they look like mixed race, but they're not, right?
They just have like adapted from where they live, right?
Exactly. And so what they do is they take this monkey, and they're looking for water, so they go find a ant hill. They cut a hole into the ant hill, and they stick a bitten apple into the ant hill, or some sort of like vegetable or fruit or whatever they can find. And then they put salt on this thing, right, as much as they can. And then the monkey first sticks his hand in there, but it's too small for him to get his arm out of the hole. So the monkey's freaking out, and it won't let go of the fruit. It just won't. And that's the whole thing. So then they wait, they go back, find that monkey, take his hand, help him get it out, and then put salt on his tongue like crazy. And that thing, the monkey just runs like jots. I mean, like this thing knows where the water is at. So it just paces for it, and it will go find water.
Wow.
That is like next level hunting. Like that's like business strategy on the next level.
There's a entrepreneurial lesson in there somewhere. I'm not sure what it is, but I think this is a cool part of your story, right? So you're this blend, right? You've been in the States for how long?
10 years, since 2013, eh?
Yeah, so you grew up in South Africa. Where'd you grow up in South Africa?
So Nelspruit, it's like a small town 4 hours east of Johannesburg. And it's the tourism corridor. So there's a Kruger Park, which is like all the animals, National Reserve. We had like a Roosevelt, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, this land, no hunting, nothing. Kruger Park, it's what it is. Boom. You drive in like Jurassic Park, you know. Trevor Noah, my guy, he's a comedian, and he has a joke about people who surf and sharks and stuff. And he's like, yeah, some guys jump with their skateboards in the Kruger Park. Like, oh yeah, they're just sharks. They're not going to bite me. I'm good. Like skate to the park, They think like, he's like, when sharks see humans, they think it's penguins, right? Or like,
Yeah.
He's like, same thing with skateboarders. They think they can skate to the Kruger with lions and like survive. It's like, no.
It's like the
Yeah.
middle of the desert.
That's where I'm from. Like people from Cape Town go through Nelspruit. People from Mozambique go through Nelspruit. Internationals come through Nelspruit. The tourism corridor of the Kruger Park. 30 minutes from my home. We'd go every other weekend. Look for leopards. This is a cheetah, by the way. And I love Okay, there's a business story about leopards.
All right, let's go.
And this has got to do with AI in the future too. Leopards are the most majestic, like powerful, confident creature I've ever seen in the wild. I mean, lions are great. Like the females hunt and then the males follow. Like and then they're lazy and tired and then boom, But a leopard is constantly going. And so I haven't seen a leopard in 20 years. Took my wife after our anniversary, after our wedding, and basically said, don't give us furniture, just give us money for South Africa. So we went.
We're going to go see the leopards.
Oh yeah. So everyone else is looking for other animals, and I know the game. The game is they're in the grass or they're in the tree. And if it's a season when the grass has been burnt or when like natural fires too, then you may see them. But really the best place is the tree. So I'm looking. And day 3 on our safari, this thing's just standing in the tree. It's 5:00 in the morning. And just standing there, like watching us. And I'm like, stop, like try not to be too loud because you're scared away. So I'm like, stop the van. There's a leopard right there. And I'm like, 20 years of my life, I haven't seen one, right? 24 years or something. My dad and my brothers would always just look. So there it is. It's just looking at us. And Samson, like, I kid you not, we're like from here to that door is a tree. And the leopard's up there. And all of a sudden my fear hits in. I'm like, this thing is massive. Like, not as big as a mountain lion, but close. And I'm like, what is going to happen? Like this thing could jump and like just take all of us out. Like you see the claws and stuff, and it just looks at us, takes one pan, slowly climbs down the tree, looks again, and then it's like, okay, and then slowly walks away. And in that moment, I realized I love leopards. So in business, they're solo, but they're also like looking out for certain things. They'll hunt by themselves, but they'll also bring things back. They have to be independent. They're like forced to be. And I think it's like
the entrepreneurs.
Every one of us is a leopard. Okay. And AI is like, I believe in the 80-20, like 80% human, 20% AI. Like plug into the tool, it's machine learning essentially, but it's got, yeah. Anyways,
we're digressing. We'll get there to AI. So then you lived there, you then moved, you're how old now?
So I'm 29, turning 30 and yeah.
Okay. So you moved to the States when you're like 19.
Yeah.
So how the heck did you get from South Africa to the United States? And did you land in Colorado when you?
No. So crazy story. Yeah. So like, backstory too, like now I have an agency and I never imagined this. Like I thought graphic design, a lot of us end up thinking like that. But back then I started, the way I started was with skateboards, selling skateboards and in youth groups and stuff. And I was radically transformed into like Christianity and being a follower of Jesus. And because I kind of grew up like middle class. I wouldn't say like maybe poor. We just didn't have a lot. And my parents went through a divorce at 16. But all to say this, the way I got here was I started working at a restaurant called Spur Steakhouse. And biggest steakhouse in South Africa. Very competitive. It actually runs on competition. So like every salesperson has to beat the next one. Okay. And then we have a regional competition.
Is it like a high-end steakhouse?
Oh yeah.
Like a Ruth Chris of the United States or a Morton's? Or?
No, it's kind of like my best comparison is unfortunately
Texas Roadhouse?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that's good.
Hey, peanuts, man. It's good.
I'm not hating on Texas Roadhouse.
I love it. So I'm working there. My mom's going to a school in Nelspruit and she's doing great. She's like music, doing all stuff. She meets an American guy, and this is the real. I'm going to give it to you, real. She meets an American guy. He's from the States, and she falls head over heels, and I'm working at the restaurant, and he visits a few times. I get to know him. First I'm like, dude, like,
stay away from my mom.
Yeah, screw this. I don't know you, like, whatever. And eventually we give him a chance. So it was good. But he becomes my mentor, and I want to go study. So I want to go to Durban, and he challenges me because he's a business guy, executive coach for like Mercedes. Like he's been in the rounds. His dad is like a very great like author in the Christian world. And so he's like, stay at Spur for another year or two, do 2 years. And I'm like, why? He's like, because you'll learn how to serve, learn how to give, learn how to interact. And he was right. Like, learn how to do sales, learn how to do business. I learned all of that at the restaurant.
So stay at the steakhouse.
Stay at the steakhouse. And I made so much money. Like relative to South Africa and when you were in college, right? So, and I would do the festivals and I would do the restaurant at the same time. And I would come home and count it all and deposit it and like watch it just grow. So that was like the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. And I hated it. The first year I despise it. But then I tried to work at some other places and I got like spanked, like.
Like what? What were those other jobs?
So I worked at a shoe store called Aldo.
Okay. Yep.
Fancy shoes, man. Deal with cool people, build a network, Come on, like some guys there that show up. And then I worked at a gold coin store called Scoin. And we would manage like commodity like coins. And then there was the intrinsic value coins. So like tons of money and you had to get background checked. They were like, you're the youngest employee. We'd never hire people that are 19 or like 18, I think it was at that time. And they're like, don't screw it up. And so there's a big skateboarding event.
And you screwed it up.
I was like, I'm going to go market there. I'm like, come on, like, let's go. Like, so my manager was like, okay, 2 hours. I go, I think the event is insane, dude. Like I jump in, like I have fun, like giving out flyers, come buy coins from us,
Yeah.
Wrong demographic.
You weren't quite set on knowing your avatar yet.
I got back 3 hours. She's like, you're kind of fired. Bring your stuff tomorrow. I was like, seriously? She's like, yeah. You're like, we're never hiring young people again.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then my mentor back then, he's like, so the guy who married my mom, he's like, I'm going to give you one word, impetuous. I was like, oh, wow. He's like, learn this word. He's like, when you're young, most young people are impetuous. It just means that they're navigating life and we make dumb mistakes. I don't know. Have you made any of those?
Oh, man, I was that guy.
Nice. Okay.
I mean, so I went to school and got a degree in physiology and then graduated on a Friday and became a futures and commodities broker.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the story.
I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. I'm 38, nice. So.
No, you got it, man. You're doing it. It's the journey, right? Like we're learning that. But to fast forward the story, from there, he brings me into the company as an intern. I do graphics and video and presentations, everything for him. And we go and speak. He speaks all over. We have a coaching program with like clients who come in and all that jazz. We film a 30-month long video series that people get to plug in and watch. I learned about like doing silver, gold, and like platinum level client
packaging, offers.
We did events of like 750 people. And the way we did those was just through one topic. So like in Nelspruit, we did cracking the low-felt nut. And there's lots of nuts in South Africa. And then I designed a graphic where this thing was like literally cracking a nut. And it basically...
What was the objective of that one?
So what we do is use psychology and stigma to bring people to our event back then. And that was like, for example, the stigma was if you're not from the low-felt, we won't do business with you. So like there's the low-felt, which is Nelspruit, and then the high-felt, which is Johannesburg. Anyways, the low-felt was like very cliquey. So we broke that stigma and then we brought them in. And so that was cool. And we filled it with sponsorships. We filled it with marketing videos, all that stuff. But fast forward, he wanted to come back 7 years out of America.
Yeah.
And there's something crazy about 7 years. Okay. So I don't know if this still applies, and don't sue me, bro. When he left the country, like he still had stuff going on here. But when he came to South Africa and then for 7 years and then came back, he had a clean sweep. Basically, his credit score was back to normal, and he had no like there's no things that he had to owe on. And like,
so was he still an American citizen?
He was, yeah.
Yeah. Did he ever get citizenship there? Get dual?
No, he didn't do the dual. Yeah. So,
but so 7 years he was waiting something out.
But I don't even think he knew that. When we came back, it was like the year of Jubilee. Like
so, but there's a part of that story that you didn't know at the time that.
Yeah.
Why did his credit score need to get reset?
I mean,
did he blow his life up out here?
No, he just left. I mean, he needed a restart. Like I feel for the guy, I have empathy, even though things never turned out the way they weren't supposed to. I still honor and respect the things I learned from that.
Yeah, I mean, he had an impact in your life, but
yeah, exactly.
the story gets crazy. We don't have to go there if we don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what got you to the States, and that's what really like spurred your graphic design and media.
And then web design
and business that you have now, and you're not doing skateboards and gold coins and selling steaks anymore, but there's a lot of the experience. But you weren't like a purebred entrepreneur. You were more like me, where you found somebody who had a mentor. For me, that was my father-in-law as well. Like he had been an entrepreneur his whole life.
Totally.
I had never seen that, at least successful. My dad was a solopreneur.
Cool.
Worked for himself, but he had a job.
Yeah.
Like glorified job.
Yeah.
Stressful job too, right?
Yeah.
Working for yourself, right? Keep it small, keep it all.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
But
that's challenging.
So then you follow him.
Yeah.
And you guys work together and then at what point do you just branch off?
Great question. So about 5 years maybe 5 or 6 years with him. It's 2016. We branch off right before everything gets crazy. So right before like him and my mom have a divorce, and for multiple reasons, but everyone's doing great now. Everyone's alive and happy. So, but I branched off in 2016. I realized that I'm always giving into kind of how do we teach the next person the next thing, and that's cool. But I'm like, I want to take what we've learned now and apply it to other people's businesses, and like enjoy that process and start to venture out on my own
and make some more money. Like
sure, yeah.
you were getting a lot of
$800, bro.
Yeah, you weren't making very much money, right?
Yeah, so I had my housing paid through the company. I had like a lot of little benefits, but then I was only keeping like to give him credit, maybe like $500 to $800, which at a 24-year-old level, that's not bad. But if you're about to get married, it's like, whoop, not
$500 a month is what you were keeping.
Like, dude, I would like. So what I ended up doing...
But you were learning a skill.
I was. And so what I did then, and this is a lesson for business owners, right? Like then I started to do eBay, and then I was making like 1,000, 2,000 from eBay.
So that was your side hustle?
So I would like literally, there's some points I didn't have a car. Like when I met my wife, I met her at a small group. My brothers had crashed the car. So I'm like, come meet me at the Red Truck Brewing Company, like next to my apartment complex in Fort Collins.
So you can walk over there.
Exactly. So I walk over. She's got like this nice Jeep. I'm like, whoa, like I don't think I can. Like I'm not going to try.
Luckily, Joy's not materialistic
no,
like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was so blessed, and that's what I wanted. I really found like deep, cool stuff in her, like you found in your wife.
Yeah,
which is it's like beyond the. She actually wanted to be with me.
Yeah.
Right. Like you need to really want to be with a ginger. We come with the day walking. We come with the sunscreen.
Day walking.
Sunscreen, you know.
So you branch off in 2016. Start doing some eBay. Start kind of doing your own thing.
So I'm paralleling at this point. Okay, so I bring on a lot of clients that, you know, undercharging like in the beginning days, like any starter. And so I quickly get mentors. SBA, big time mentor of mine. I plug into Jim Kelly down there, and he just like pours into my business. Free coaching, by the way, if you have a business. But then I'm doing the e-commerce and this at the same time. And DJM is more consistent, but this one is like, it has these fluctuations. And eventually it gets to a head, like in 2019. In 1 month I did like, for me this was significant, like 10K. And I was like, whoa, like this is, I could scale this to the moon.
This is through DJM?
No, this is through another e-commerce company.
Oh, got it.
That I spun off. I ran it through the same DBA.
Got it.
So like same LLC, just to simplify it. And so my accountants would have to do like one that's based on e-com and one that's not, you know, it kind of drove them crazy. Joy, I met Joy and she kept saying, you know, you need to maybe focus on one, because I was like half, I was like what they say in South Africa, you have two legs in two countries and you're in the middle of the ocean. And the saying comes from like the English guys. They use this really derogatory word. I won't say it exactly. But it's like an English guy has got his legs in two oceans. So then technically his man part is in the water. So it's salty. And so it's just a crazy concept, but they would mock us with that. And so like, that's how I felt with the two businesses. And at 2019, the Lord kind of just forced it. Like I hit like 10 and then it was like November, October, and actually it was a blessing, because think about it, the next year following that was COVID.
Got wild, yeah.
Yeah, so then I could just focus down. So I had some like major compliance stuff happen. So I was doing too many orders too quickly, and the shipment and fulfillment, because we're doing drop shipping, didn't kind of pan out. And so I'm like, okay, these guys, I can't help them. So like, let me just refund all of them. So I refund all of those. And then there's a few that kind of like still are crushing. So we went with it. And the chargebacks alone, like, put me under. And I was like, nope, like there's no way I can run both these businesses. I have to double down in DJM. And Joy agreed. And so we shut it down in December. And December is the high month, man. You're selling everything and anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Went out with a bang.
I went out with this. It's like a baby dying. Like for you know, as an entrepreneur, you lose that entrepreneurial baby, and you always want to go back to it. But it's like, you know, this is not a legit thing. So,
what was the? So that's a big transition. Obviously, you know, early days of entrepreneurship. There's a lot of just kind of trying to figure it out.
For sure.
But what's the mindset shift that you got to go through to say, hey, I'm going to shut down revenue over here?
Yeah.
Because there's a better model over here. Sure. You know, like what were you talking yourself through?
Oh, that was rough. I honestly didn't want to have those conversations, right? Like I was like, this is not, yeah. I think the simplest answer to that question and the way I got there was through brute force, and then realizing that your brain, like realizing my brain was getting split in two different directions. Like I felt it coming. I think Matt says it really well, you know, focus on one and then get it to skyrocket, then go to the next one. And that's what my mentor said as well. And I think that was the simple discussion. It was really basic in that sense. So
once you made the transition, what was the hardest part about DJM?
Oh man, COVID. So COVID was a blessing. COVID was a huge blessing. So I was at the lowest point during COVID, and I'm saying that a lot.
You're gonna get this blacklisted.
Yeah,
keep saying
jeez, cut it out.
Beep beep beep. That's gonna be a new bad word that we just beep out. Yeah.
The illness. So it flipped the switch in DJM. So in July, I remember it. I was in a low point watching one of the cousins. And I'm working and I'm stressed out and like all this stuff, man. And to be honest, like I'm running the business, and I'm like, the moment stress got too much, I would like plug in and play a video game. Like that was my escape back then. And because I grew up in a family with IT and tech, and my dad had an internet cafe during Y2K, you know, like it was amazing. Like we'd play all night, right? And then like,
so instead of like drinking or something, you just
video games.
I'm gonna go play video games.
Bunch of nerds out there. Love you guys. No, so that's what I did there. But then I was like, no. Like I need to pull myself out of this. And the person who actually pushed me was Matt Sharp too. I sat with him once, and I was like, he's like, don't do that. He's like, I can't do business with you if you're like this. You need to like just go. And I'm like, cool. So I leave Matt Sharp realizing I'd done so much good work for him that wake up call, like I've got this, like I'm doubting myself, trying to sell myself short and go work for someone. I can't do that.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Kicked in.
Filling the coffers.
Yeah.
Dry up.
I think, remember, if you're desperate, like get through it quickly, because then you can turn around and go to the bases again.
Yeah, I think every entrepreneur goes through that, where you butt up against this problem that's maybe bigger than your current skill set.
Yeah.
And like you just have to reset and say, what I'm currently doing is the wrong shit. And so I just
exactly.
need to do different shit. Exactly.
And look at the data, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you know a lot about that. So we looked at the data, and I was like, oh my goodness, like websites, like this is the jam, and this is what I love. Like, so our membership plans are so awesome. Like, so we're a lot different. Like you were asking me about the team model and structure. So we run and my mind shift is growing. I think that's the good thing. Like I'm staying humble, and my accent doesn't get me automatic sales. So let me just put that out there.
He sounds smarter than he actually is, guys.
Exactly. So, yeah, don't trust accents right away. It lasts for 5 minutes. I tried it when I was dating, you know, and then
when you went back to the data though, this is my quick question.
Yeah, data.
Because it made me think of there's a book called Built to Sell.
Yes.
And
from Jim Collins.
I don't know if it's Jim Collins. No.
Good to Great, then Built to Sell.
No, Built to Sell is a different book.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But it's a story about a guy who tries to sell his company. He's in an agency model. goes to his friend, tries to sell the business.
Yeah, no.
Then his friend says your business isn't worth anything. Nobody wants to buy your job effectively.
Yeah, I'll buy the
So
portfolio.
he goes back to the drawing board and says, hey, you got to tell me what's the one thing that you do that you're the best at.
Awesome.
And he settles on logos.
No way.
And he builds the best logo design shop out there, and then ends up selling his company.
Do you know his name?
I don't think it's a real story.
It reminds me of The Future. Have you seen his YouTube content?
No.
Okay, every agency owner, if you're
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Chris Do.
Yeah.
Chris Do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we stopped doing logos.
Yeah. So, but because you realized website was your thing, right?
Right, and the more like AI develops, like you realize, like our clients are going to competition sites and they're going to AI sites, and then they're bringing back stuff and they're like, "Can you redraw this?" Isn't that crazy?
I just wrote the post about that today. I don't know if you saw the newsletter that came out, but
I'll check it out.
It was specifically talking about how SEO is dead. So you remember the age of the SEO copywriter?
For sure.
They would write copy to build SEO on your website.
Yeah.
You don't need that anymore. No. I can one shot on Jasper AI. I can write a blog.
And you could like here's the deal though. Like I'm doing a workshop on it and it's gonna run continuously. The live one is VIP. So like if you guys come, it's like really legit. I'll have a chef there and everything. But so it's still 80% human and 20% AI. And it's like still back to computers of user input, user output.
Right. If you can't prompt, you don't know shit.
You don't know anything. Yeah. There's two camps. My camp, and one camp believes it'll surpass human intellect and then emotional intellect and all this other stuff. But the problem is, I believe it won't. It's a machine. Like it doesn't have a soul. Like, and you can't. So there's even like two camps of scruffies versus scientific builders on AI. Okay. Scruffies are creative. That means they're just going to try anything. Scientific is like, okay, how do we model it after the brain? That's what they're doing. They're taking like the brain has like 56 billion neurons. Okay. And that's how they're programming AI. And then like, okay, well, how do you do emotion and then your neurons have weights. So like, let's say you have a weight on something you believe, that therefore you're going to spit out what you're going to say. And that's kind of how the AIs are like working and being trained and stuff. So yes, there's dangers. Yes, there's all this stuff, but I don't believe that it can surpass, like it can turn into, there's no AI that's alive. There's none.
Right.
Like to this day, like, and it's from a cool book that I'm reading, but
So it doesn't, I mean, once upon a time, people thought like Excel was the devil or the internet or email.
It's a new trend.
So it's definitely here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
But every entrepreneur, what should entrepreneurs be thinking about as it relates to leveraging AI in their business?
Sure. Okay. So back to the leopard. Okay. So you want to build a bunch of leopards in your business that can go and run out. Think about it. Like they can go out and run and rock and roll themselves.
Right.
And so I think that's the key takeaway is, yes, you can consolidate, but be very careful because there's like still quality controls. So like Google looks for quality. They won't like ban your AI and stuff, but they still look for quality. They still look for like engagement. And so it's still back to the basic metrics. I think how we do SEO has changed. We're still seeing the results like through backlinking and through like really good article backlinking and really good on-page, off-page compliance. Like your compliance actually can get you like tax credits. And so like I'm like really pushing people to like learn this stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, what I'm seeing with AI is just people keep trying to use it like the old SEO hack. They're just trying to figure out how to use it to hack the system.
Yeah, no.
Instead of enhance what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that original thought still predominates, and that's why we push so hard for content. That's why we have a podcast, we have a YouTube channel, why we write a newsletter. Because in a world where the playing field has been leveled. So I've been in the game long enough to know that once upon a time, I could buy top of page search on Google for $1 a click.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. And like name the keyword. It was $1, maybe pennies. Right.
Super cool.
That has changed now, right? Everybody. Who do you know that doesn't run Google paid media, right? Like
it's rare.
Search, right? So everybody.
Yeah.
So what's the thing that doesn't scale? The thing that doesn't scale is what we're doing right now.
Yeah. No.
Now we can make it more scalable. We can improve our process.
Yeah.
But to sit here and have a conversation requires real effort, time, organization, planning, thinking, right? It's going to require real editing and post editing on the background, on the back of that. So I think that's what entrepreneurs should be focused on.
I agree.
In terms of long-term building their platform and their brand. You know?
Yeah. Don't become brainless, right? Like we're seeing the hypers out there, and I really just despise it. Like teach people something, you know, and don't try and ring them around a rope until you've taught them. I don't know. There's a lot of these philosophy stuff that gets thrown out there, but don't become brainless. Think for yourself. Like it is a tool. Like you gotta still apply your brain and then go from there. But some of the tools that are really getting crazy too is, I don't know if Darius has seen this one. There's this video with a YO at the end, .ai. It'll make all your shorts.
I've seen this.
Yeah, it's what I love about it is you can pull the keyword too. Like, so like Darius can now like take his mental space or whoever's working on the edits and like, oh no, I like this short piece and I want to use that one. Like we're still using our brain to get there. Yeah, it's becoming a little ridiculous. Yeah, the agency playing field. Like if agencies don't pivot into this, like it's going to be really scary for you.
Well, yeah,
I think maybe.
But it's a good thing, right? So like once upon a time, I was part of a company where we brought in a CFO who came from the private equity world.
Interesting.
And he's really, really good at, building things into the financial model. And then it would be like, you know what? We just got to get rid of these 60 jobs. Wow. And it's like, well, that work doesn't go anywhere, right? Like workload is like energy, right? It's neither created nor destroyed. So if it doesn't go anywhere, then we have to figure out how to leverage technology or other systems. Because if we just pile more stuff on, like we take it off of somebody else and put it on somebody else, short term it feels good. Like, okay, we just saved all this cost. Long term, it exacerbates the problem, right? Because it just gets worse and it shows up in other ways. So like customer churn or whatever it might be. So AI is becoming this tool that allows you to do more with less. Yeah. But I don't think it has, at least not yet, gotten to a place where it replaces it. Yeah. But this is for entrepreneurs, especially if you're an entrepreneur who's thinking about making the transition from working inside of a company to become an entrepreneur. Sure. Do the hard stuff right now. Like do the stuff that nobody else wants to do. Do the door knocking. Do the cold calls. Do the video 100%. Content. Do the host the in-person events. Like that stuff's hard. Yeah. And because it's hard, the playing field, there's very little people that are doing it. And
choose your vehicle wisely, right? Like you told me this. I mean, you were at a house a while back and it was fun. We had like a barbecue, South African style. And you were just kind of breaking down some of the fallacies. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like I haven't looked at service-based business like that, but I also haven't been in your shoes. Yeah. And so I had a little bit of a like, let me check myself here. Like Samson has some like solid validity there. What we're experiencing that works in our model is, we're not in-house. Okay. So like I have a project manager who's in-house and then I have like a sales force. And then from there, we really like optimize our freelance team because we have to. Like I spend a lot of time nurturing, planning, training, and like making sure our clients get what they want. Because there's the switch for me that happened in like 2022, 21. I'm not just doing service for clients. I'm actually there thinking and strategizing. Well, how do we take your website and how do I apply the shoemaker stuff that I'm doing for myself now for you? Like, how do we make the chatbot more effective? Like, what compliance are you dealing with? And the only reason I started jumping on compliance was because of some fire that I was experiencing. And I had to come to like this Joshua moment of like, I need to walk around this like 7 times. Otherwise, it's going to crumble me. And it was insane. And
so you're thinking more like a fractional chief marketing officer.
Exactly. And it works like so much better.
Because
taking skin in the game.
Traditional agency models like, hey, I need you to run my Facebook ads. Yeah. And it's like, well, if we talk about Facebook ads in a vacuum, not within the grand scheme, and there's no funnel on the back end, right? Or
sales page, or
whatever. There's no sales script. Yeah. There's no good webinar. Yeah. It doesn't really matter if I run the best Facebook ads ever.
Slap and stick. It doesn't work.
And so you have to take a more comprehensive approach.
And then narrow it down to like, if you can go like us, like manufacturers, home, property, and then car dealers, then you have like so much better knowledge. And like it's like that bullseye. You can keep hitting the target and like, oh, cool. Like we're getting better and better at that.
Interested in what you said though. How do you guys take skin in the game of your customer's business?
Okay, so one of our favorite clients, Leading Edge Electric. Okay, if you go look at their Ahrefs score or like the Google Domain Authority, like they're going past the 50. So it's like 50 out of 100. With them, we always bring new ideas to them. And so like sometimes we can push for, hey, like if we're doing this much in sales, can we take this much? And that's how I would recommend it to other people. For them, we have a very unique model where it's like, okay, we have a spin and win campaign happening right now. It's private. We're hitting all the non-customers with this thing. So like we're targeting non-customers. So it's kind of fun. But their website's really good. It's woman-owned entrepreneur. Like you're being bold. Like you need to take all the like authentic stuff, like listen to Matt Shoop's stuff is good. And then like amplify that in your business and people like attract to you. And so
you're participating in the upside
of her business. So solely through bringing new ideas to the table, and then also in the future being like, hey, like one day we want to hit more electricians, and so there's a extra level to this game that we want to talk about.
And we take this model and duplicate it.
And you have knowledge and we have marketing, so like, can we go and like move that along?
Yeah, build a coaching or out of the box solution to help other electricians.
Because it's like if you know the model, then you can work on that. And so we see that, and we.
Yeah, that's a big disconnect for most agencies.
Yeah.
Is they're jack of all and they don't know anything specialized about a given sector.
It's painful to watch, man.
It's really challenging.
Because I've been through it, so I feel the pain too. I know what it's like.
If you don't really understand the business internally, you can have a really hard time marketing for it.
Right.
You don't understand the customer.
Yeah, vendors, man. Like if you can plug into your vendors. Someone was, I think it was a social post. I loved it. So this guy was in some sort of cleaning okay. So it was like water and plumbing. So he did the cleanup from the water that spills. And what he did for marketing was he would just go to all the plumbers for like 2 or 3 years, man, door knocking, like, hey plumber, like if you can fix the pipes, but you can't like clean up all the water that's gone everywhere. So he did that. And I think he scaled it to like, in like a matter of 3 years, he was doing that water cleaning service and like fixing and whatnot. I think he scaled it to like over the 10 million mark.
Yeah.
And the plumbers would be like, okay, this guy's the one you want to talk to. They just fed him.
So word of mouth went viral.
Word of mouth. Yeah. Like vendor relationships went viral.
Yep.
And I think like we forget that there's that physical aspect that can really get us there too. But like put the work in. It's hard.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about just word of mouth in general.
It's powerful.
It still matters.
It still scales.
It does. Well, it can be a tailwind or it can be a headwind. Right?
I guess how you do it, hey.
Yeah, I mean, eventually as you continue to expand your cold reach out,
okay,
your paid media, you less and less people know, like, and trust you, right? So your conversion rates go down, right? Your cost per clicks go up.
Yeah,
there's more advertisers competing for the same ad space.
They copy your ads.
They copy your ads, or they're just all trying to. It's the same avatar but a different product, right? So it's all commanding for attention. And there's only one competitive advantage, and that's if you have strong brand and referral.
100%.
And a lot of businesses have scaled just on referral, and then that's a huge competitive advantage because you can go leverage that social proof across paid media to get more. But brand still really, really matters, and it gets constantly overlooked because everybody's chasing the tactic of how do I get on the new TikTok thing, or how do I run more paid media?
But relationships, I agree with you. Like they'll slingshot you, like you were saying. Like you build these, and you really authentically build them. Like don't. Yeah,
you can't fake it. It just time is the great equalizer.
Yeah, and people read through your desperation or things like that, and you got to be really careful. I mean, I've been there. Like I'm still getting that, but the slingshot method is really cool. I like pouring into things, and Alex says this. When you pour into yourself, like you get to meet really cool people. Like you go to conferences, and with us with kids and stuff, like it gets really. You don't have as much time. Like you're really grinding. You're grinding hours and minutes, and like what is the 4% of the 20%? Like the whole concept of the 4% that's working. And let's be real, like we're still human, not machines.
Yeah.
But going to conferences, going to events that are right, and then spitting out all of the junk and keeping the meat from the event, and then actually meeting the speakers has been a life-changing eye-opener for me. And I know that there's a 10-year, 20-year where I may bump back into that person, or I may bump back into you.
Yep. And
for me, that's valuable, and pouring into, like, if you call me, like I called you the one time, but if you call me, I'm willing to jump, or like willing to do something to listen, to grow.
No, I appreciate that about you. You're just always a big fan and supporter.
Sure. Yep.
So I'll always take the phone
support.
call.
No.
But one of the things
important.
One of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately, though, is just time is the great equalizer, and so that's why I'm so focused on entrepreneurship through acquisition.
It's amazing.
Because if you're buying a company that's been around for 20 or 30 years, you get that trust moat that the next guy doesn't have, right? And so sure, the owner might be gone, but somebody has all these relationships and has all these projects and all these contracts.
Yeah, just plug in.
And then all of a sudden you layer on what we know how to do on top of that.
Yeah.
The paid media, right? The brand.
Your knowledge behind all the
the
running this business, brick and mortar. Like
correct. You know when you plug that into that business, now all of a sudden it's like rocket fuel.
Yeah.
Right?
And then
versus trying to go from scratch and start up. That's a lot harder to do.
It is.
And so take away from that, if you're listening, is just staying in the game is probably 90% of it.
Yeah.
And most entrepreneurs bang their head against the wall for
just
3, 4, 5 years until they finally figure it out, or
there's no magic.
They shut down the eBay business and they go, okay, got it. I've learned what I know now, and I'm going to go focus on the other thing. Yeah. So I think the key to winning the game is to just stay in the game.
It is. There's no silver bullet. There's no consistent easy win. It's daily grinds, like the up and down of the roller coaster. But I saw your post about some of the cool stuff you're getting into. I love Fort Collins Startup Week. I love Denver Startup Week, and I there's such a great community there. And I'm excited to see where you take that. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I spoke at Founded in FOCO this year.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which was interesting, right? So I sat in a room.
Good. Yeah.
There's probably 60 people I spoke, and I said, how many people in this room are doing over $1 million a year in top line revenue?
Okay.
And one person raised their hand.
Wow, really? Okay, so it's a lot of the starters.
It's very, very startup. But
Denver's way opposite. Okay, so it's happening in August mostly.
Yeah.
I think the applications for speaking is closed, but...
Well, we'll just go and create content.
Just go. No, you must. Okay, so they have the BlackRock group down there. BlackRock, the company. There's a mentorship.
No, I've never heard of them.
There's what rock are you living under?
A black one, apparently.
Yeah. Come on, man. Acquisition South African companies. You make a lot of money. Real estate's really inexpensive down there.
You said it's in August?
It's in August, yeah. It's going to be awesome. People from all over the world come. And then you see the 50 million to hundreds of $1 million companies coming to look for companies. And then you see Fortune 500 companies bring their investors and look. Yep. It's crazy. So you rub shoulders with some really neat people. So I would encourage you guys, check out Startup Weeks, whatever city you're in. It actually shows you what it takes to be a 5-year starter and then explode hockey stick and get out. Because that's the dream for people. And I have a lifestyle business, but it's amazing if you can run for 5 years and get paid.
Well, yeah, knowing how to engineer an exit, that's something that I learned in my last gig. Right?
Yeah.
So
you were really good at some of that stuff.
When you just learned, I said that our CFO came in and, he was really about plugging the financial model and cutting jobs and moving around. But
sure,
he also knew a lot about how to engineer an exit and what are the multiples? What are the key metrics that you need to be focused on in order to make your business attractive to the next buyer?
Yeah.
And that, especially a lot of boomer owners who are getting ready to exit, they have no idea what people, processes, and systems they need to be putting in place in order to exit.
Yeah.
And that's your advantage if you're an acquisition entrepreneur to come in and get something at a discount, put those people in place, scale it into a more attractive business for a financial buyer.
I love it. Tell me about I just want to ask one other question. So I feel like you're so good at, is it because you're super relatable that you connect with these highly influential investors and people like that? What is it like? Because for us, I think for most entrepreneurs, I'm a half introvert, half extroverted, believe it or not. I love to just study and disappear, get really deep in thinking.
So is the question around raising money?
Yeah, around raising money or really connecting with those people. Is it just a straightforward hey, I'd love to have you as an investor one day, or I'd love to have you as a resource for future things? How do you approach those people?
It's definitely it's relationship.
Same,
but money does not flow to a good idea.
Oh, very cool. This is interesting.
Money flows to competence,
Wow.
right? And especially like in the
Good
world
books.
of business,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people out there trying to pitch when they have not gotten to revenue. And so especially like in the world of technology, like those days are dead and gone right now.
Interesting.
Show me that you can get to revenue, step one.
Wow.
Now, if you're talking
so
about,
they won't even touch it.
yeah,
probably.
well, because everything was about, growth. Now it's about like, oh, can you actually have a positive EBITDA business?
Yeah, we're in the hard times. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so pitching off an idea doesn't really make sense. But I think the second piece of it is,
I love EBITDA, by the way. You guys need a. So let me just say this quickly.
go.
Okay, so in 2022, about 15% of our revenue was grant revenue. Okay, manufacturing grants, government grants for companies. We have to spend it in a certain way. You can't get more than 20% grants. But okay, they make you do EBITDAs to do that, and it opens your mind as an entrepreneur if you haven't done one, because you're looking at the whole freaking market, and then you're boiling it down. Like, how do I get it down to my market? But then how do I reach the mass market?
Yeah.
I mean, you know more about that than I do. It was my first time last year jumping into EBITDA, and I was like, okay.
Earnings before tax, interest, depreciation, and appreciation.
Yeah.
But the second part of it is most people are just scared of money. So the best I ever heard it was,
That's good.
money is just energy,
Okay.
and it doesn't have anywhere to go without a good deal. And so when you're sitting and talking to an investor, the only thing that the investor has is money, and you have everything else, which is even more case to go get to revenue. Because if you get to revenue and you have a product and you have a real MVP and you're actually able to show that you have users and a platform and a marketplace and all these things, now I get to be picky about who's actually coming to, what value do you bring beyond money to my deal?
Amazing.
That's different, right?
Yeah.
The third piece of advice I would just say is it's a volume game. Not every person you talk to is going to like your investment thesis or your flavor of investment, right? Like if they're a real estate guy, they might be turned off by tech.
Sure.
Right? Or if they're an entrepreneur and they're used to managing their money, they might be less attracted to like a passive real estate investment.
Totally.
Right? And so one of my good friends he went through Techstars.
Oh, yeah.
And he sat down with an investor. And in that conversation, he had probably had like, I don't know, 12, 13 conversations at that point. And he kind of got to the end of his pitch and kind of went with like the hope and a prayer, like almost like desperation, right? They say desperation's the worst deodorant, right?
Yeah, it is.
And the big investor told him, I wish you wouldn't have done that, right? Because I actually really like you, but you sound desperate. He said, how many conversations have you had? He said, like 12 or 13. He said, well, the last guy that just walked out in front of you, he's on like conversation like 150.
Oh, yeah.
And so if I'm going to put money on you, I need to know that you're willing to go the cycles necessary to do whatever it takes in order to make it happen. And so most people, when they go down the route of raising money, they're just talking to a couple people and they get a couple no's or maybe like less interest. And you only need one lead investor to start the motion.
That's cool.
And then everybody else falls in. If
yeah.
I go and say, we just raised $1 million from X, Y, and Z, now you're like, oh, well, somebody else has done it first. Law of diffusion of innovation says most people won't do something, the mass market, until somebody else has done it first.
So good.
So there's 13.5% of the population out there that's an investor that believes the same thing that you believe. And so you got to get in front of that person. If you get in front of that person will then believe in you, give you the money that you need. You can then take that social proof and then go into the mass market. But the mass market won't do it until somebody else has done it. And then you always have the laggards, right? The people who won't get in until whatever, you've gone public or whatever. Like, okay, that's fine.
Cool.
But in the world of venture and startup, you gotta have to have some conversations.
Oh yeah.
You got a real product, real MVP. The only thing the investor has is money. So what else are they bringing to the table? Yeah. Switch it in your mind.
It's like sales. Yeah. You can't be lazy.
Also, I would say the last little point too that I've learned is never shy away from the risk. Own the risk. Everybody wants to know what the downside is. If you only talk about the upside, they're going to go, this guy's way too optimistic, right?
Yeah. It's amazing to watch those pitches too.
Like, and that comes from my world of commodity trading.
Oh, really? Wow.
Right? Because in commodities, unlike stock, if you put $100,000 in, the most you could lose is $100,000. Okay. You can put $100,000 in commodities and lose $1 million because they're leveraged. Yeah. Right. So the key my mentor told me, options are a part of it.
Okay.
But my mentor always told me that more importantly than knowing how you're going to get out of the trade if it does well, is how you're going to get out of the trade if it goes badly.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose more than you win according to the law of probability.
Yeah.
But your winners will be 10x your losers. And so if you can mitigate your downside, you're going to be more successful. So investors aren't scared of risk. Like they're big kids.
You have to look through it. Yeah.
So here's the risk. Yeah. This is how we plan to mitigate it.
Yeah.
And that needs to be included in your pitch as well.
That's so good. I told you last time we were experimenting with domain flips and website flips and things like that. And a lot of them, I would call them junky because like the business kind of died, it died like during COVID. So then we brought it up and then we put it on platforms. And so we do that for some clients too. But mostly just on the website side of things. And that's a 1x growth multiple from sales of website. That's how much you can sell it for.
Right.
Very different to a business sale, right? It's like a portion of the business sale.
Unless, of course, you can turn that into
a revenue,
a product. Right?
Yeah. And you can double it up.
Yeah. So. Speaking of Matt Schaub and products, right?
Yes.
I'm actually helping him get ready to sell his business, Pirate Patch.
Nice. Yeah. So, I know that business, the Amazon one.
Yeah. Well, it's really not an Amazon business. It's just they don't know how to scale it beyond Amazon FBA, right? It's really a DTC product company. And so, having the skill set of going and growing that business and that website and that product, and then selling that is what would make that would be a multi-million-dollar business that they're selling.
100%.
But because they're just leveraging Amazon FBA, it's like a $300,000 business, right?
Yeah.
Got a patented product. It's no employees. It's very easy to manage. Great reviews. All that stuff.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect for scale. I think it's great.
But you should consider those types of a company like that for you with your skill set would be insane.
Yeah, we're literally building out that department and what that looks like. We're in the experimental phase. So what's exciting is we have I want to say 10, and then there's a few other businesses that we're like, oh, there's an exit maybe, but they're not like the tech businesses. The tech sites sell, the e-commerce sites sell. You need a brick and mortar. You're gonna have a hard time selling a website.
Yep.
They're gonna have to want that brand or that property. So, but there's one story that
you just can't get off this podcast without telling it.
I can.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's go.
I never said it online. When I left South Africa, I had a lot of art that I had that made, and I had a lot of stuff and a lot of crap. And my one buddy Warren out there had a little ranch, a little property back there. We'll say a plot in South African statements. Really cool. His family's very entrepreneurial. They built like chalets, which is like places to stay, and very cool. So he's like, "You're leaving to America," and I didn't tell my mom I was leaving. I didn't tell my mom I was coming with. I actually surprised her on the plane. I wore a wig. I hid in the airport, like waiting for the plane to board, and then I jumped on and took the wig off. They didn't actually pull me aside. I thought the security were like, "Hey man, why are you wearing a wig, dude? This is my personal preference."
He's just a ginger doing ginger things.
This is me being me. Back then we didn't have the, identify as a person who loves to wear a wig or whatever. Long story short, so I show up on the plane. She's bawling, crying. But I remember thinking back, on that flight, man, I went to my buddy Warren's house and sat there and burnt half my artworks, and then donated half of them to a little museum downtown. And the ones that I burned my stuff, I burned everything. I just got rid of all the personal possessions I had, except for one or two small things. I'm
going to just be honest with you. That seems real dramatic.
It was crazy. But I learned a lot in that moment. If you want to reset your life, it's okay to just start and stay. I still agree with family being glass and everything else rubber balls. You don't want to break your family because it's hard to rebuild it, but you can rebuild business, you can rebuild investments, they can bounce back.
Stuff.
But when I got rid of that, I almost became a new person.
Yeah.
And so the Daniel in South Africa stayed there, and the Daniel-James that was in the US had to work through some new things, and some of those artworks were controversial too. So back then I was a little bit more arrogant. So I apologize now. I made an artwork about a political piece and it was epic. I could show it to you on my phone afterwards, but it was the current president with he had his hand over holding the like a puppet of the policeman. Back then, Jackie Celebi and Jacob Zuma was the president. And he had a nose that was long like Pinocchio, and there was like a donut around his nose. And then out of his jacket was coming soldiers and like money. And then beneath him was the youth minister, Julius Malema. They all caused chaos for our country, pulling his tie, and money was falling out. And then behind him was like this big newspaper. It said truth, truth, truth. And then inside it said lies, lies, lies. And then like South African image was coming. The South African map was out of that. And I had a lot of like guys who were like, "I'll buy that from you, or I'll take that." And I was like, if this is on someone's wall, and yes, the president back then, he took money and like renovated his house and called it home improvements. Like swimming pool was made for fires, to extinguish fires. But no, it was a swimming pool. Like, no, you're not using it to extinguish fires, bro. You're like using our tax money to build a mansion.
So you didn't want somebody to put that on their wall?
And then someone to show up and maybe take them out. Like it can be so intense in South Africa in that way, but then there's also like no red tape. So it's super amazing. Like,
but I think this story there, and this is probably the most important piece of what you said, was a lot of what stops people from taking the leap into entrepreneurship, especially if you're an entrepreneur, is you have so much of your identities wrapped up in the status of the car, the house, the job, the title, the whatever, that you're afraid to go do that. And you would rather just stay suffering doing what you've been doing versus jumping out into doing the thing that you're really called to do. And as soon as you can let go of that and know that, like, no matter what happens, my wife and my kids, we can move into a freaking 2-bedroom apartment.
Exactly.
And we'd be totally fine.
It's the Lion King story, right? Like, he leaves the tribe.
Right.
And then he comes back.
Right.
You know, and it's kind of cool. Like, so always remember that. I think, you know, just venture out. But dude, this podcast is awesome. I'm getting goosebumps, so it's really cold. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
I'm always interested in this question as we kind of wrap this up, but what's keeping you awake at night right now as an entrepreneur, given like everything that's happened in the market, the economy, presidential election coming up?
Okay.
Just your business in general.
Such a good question. Just give me a minute. Yeah.
It could also be positive too. It could be excitement, right? It doesn't always have to be negative.
Exactly. No, I would say ultimately, like for me, what's keeping me up at night is I'm kind of so over the politics stuff, but I really am excited about the utilities of AI and the innovation that's spurring out of it, like the computer Y2K age. And so we're in that new age where it's like now computers have elevated to the next level, and it's not gonna. I think essentially what keeps me up about it is actually the excitement, because I'm not afraid of, and I don't think people need to be afraid. Like, that's just don't accept that type of fear. You can leverage yourself into an opportunity within AI. I don't think it's gonna be that. It could be that rapid. I don't know.
We're always afraid of what we don't know.
Yeah. But here's my challenge to you: take like 10% of your day and start learning. And just start embracing and start saying, well, okay, this tool sucks. I don't really like that one. Or this is going to take too long to plug in like ChatGPT into Zapier and then do my email, like debriefs and stuff. But maybe I can use like another tool like Resemble AI and do all my recordings. I strongly think that if it gives you a 10% or 20% elevation in your productivity, at least use that. But don't get sucked in too deep. Yeah. I think that's what keeps me up at night. And
that's good. I always called that the like the playground mindset. You know, when you're a kid and you you're the playground for the very first time.
Oh yeah.
And you see all these kids are like playing this game. You don't know what they're playing, but they're having just the best time. So you just sit there and you just study what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of step one. Like, people don't even, all the stuff you just named off, I guarantee most people listening to this podcast have no idea what Resemble that AI is, right?
Yeah.
ChatGPT, you named off Zapier.
Descript and
Descript, you named off all
a few of them,
So step one is just like go get familiar with what's out there.
There's a book, actually,
And then go talk to somebody who knows, like Daniel, right? Or me, right? Of like, hey, how do you play the game?
Yeah.
And you play the game, and guess what? You're going to suck at it first.
Oh, yeah.
But like, there's the excitement in learning about it. Like, first time you get onto some new game, right? You get excited about it.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after you play the game enough, you understand how it works. But simply just not doing it, right? You'll become obsolete.
Yeah, and I think that's like the game, right? Like, you can't fully build a website on AI. Like, trust me, we've tried, and just to challenge it. Like
See if this can replace me.
Yeah, we used 2 platforms to try that, and there was anyways, you can't do it just yet, but I can see a future where some really crazy stuff's happening.
And just having the skill, right? Because people a lot of time like
prompting.
The skill is people are paying to get their time back, right? So if you know how to use the tool, and I can charge you whatever $5,000 to do something that maybe takes me a couple prompts, in 30 minutes.
Yeah, one that's really cool. I mean, imagine this, because all of us use email. Is like you can set it up to where it like will bring up draft emails, and then it will like you can summarize, and then so your day starts with like a summary, and then there's drafts written. So you could say, okay, no, I like that draft, send it.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm still experimenting. And then another one I like you guys to use is like this, it's called the Bing one, the Bing. Okay, so Bing has the app, and in the app there's the chat, but the chat actually speaks back and forth with you.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't just read. Like I like to verbally, like I've even done a counseling session. So I was with my wife. I was like, babe, check this out. So I'm like, help me with some advice. I'm feeling down today, all this stuff. And like, I need some, my love language is affirmations. And, I'm sorry you're not feeling, and my wife's like, I would never say that to you. It's like, sorry to hear that. Like, well, you could do this, this, and this. And then that, like, I kept going down
conversation.
The thread.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so crazy. And so my wife was like almost elbowing me, like, this is dumb. Yeah. So be careful. Don't fall in love with this stuff. You can get a little wacky in that.
What do you think the difference is between entrepreneurs who are successful and those who give up, quit, or maybe even never get started?
I mean, it's honestly just a mental thing. Like children are so good for this. Children will really expand your mental capacity and everything, and really make you think. And I think it's literally how much self-talk are you giving yourself to get through the day, and you need to shut off as much of the stuff around that and stay on your vision path. It's okay to like look at other people's social media and stuff, but in my mind, I think those are the successful entrepreneurs. Like if you take Dave Ramsey or Alex Hormozi or Uncle Elon, how much of the outside noise are they like really paying attention to? Like minute.
Very little.
I bet you like Elon Musk gets most of his knowledge from the podcast, or like the news from different people,
or just his own original thought.
Yeah, and so he's able to control those thoughts and apply it, because like our brains are valuable more than ever. I don't know if you experienced this, but your brain kind of hits limits, and then you got to kind of expand it again and decide.
Paradigm shifting.
Yeah,
right? Looking at the world from a different perspective.
I'm just learning that. Honestly.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, I think those people are successful. Just the resiliency. Like if you can build resiliency, man, like just pour into yourself. Don't let yourself fall to the wayside. Don't like let the Lord pick you up. Like let your spirituality like pray and like find, like for me it's like I have to find Jesus, and I have to find the story of David to like really empower what's going on in our family, you know? And
I think it's just crazy. Important that it's your own journey.
Yeah.
And there's no deadline.
No.
Like whatever, let's just say it's $1 million. When you get to $1 million, then you're like, how do I get to 10? When you get to 10, how do I get to 100?
Yeah, for sure.
So the journey is the pursuit.
Yeah.
And the destination is the pursuit. I think that's important.
I love what Jordan Peterson says too, especially for male and female entrepreneurs. But man, not a lot of times do you come home to it's hard to understand the entrepreneur too, and to like pour and invest and say like, hey, well done, like you crushed it today. Like the only person that's saying that is yourself.
Yeah.
And like the only other way is if you pull people around you and like build those mentorship groups. And,
your wife might hype you up when you tell her how you did. But
yeah. If you're like, and you really want it from them, but if there's kids to be taken care of, like you got to slow down and realize, hey, like switch.
That's why that's why it's important to mentors, other entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Change your circle. If you want to be an entrepreneur, or if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, if you're the best entrepreneur in your circle, you're probably in the wrong circle. I think that's constantly growing is definitely one of the things that makes great entrepreneurs.
And realizing everyone struggles, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And contentment, like be happy with the things that you have. Like, I can't change my ginger hair, but I love it. Like I got to be happy with it. Right?
You got a nice flow going.
So yeah, like just realize like you have cool stuff about you that'll make you kind of elevate. So
100% embrace that.
Yeah.
All right, here's your opportunity to shameless plug your business. How do people, if they identified with your story, they want to see what you're up to, they want to learn more about your business,
cool.
What are the ways they can do that?
Okay, so you can check out the website djm.design, and there we have lots of stuff happening on there. We got a workshop coming up that'll kind of run continuously on AI, live chat in there, and then there's also events that I get part of. So you just contact us and hang out and see what we're about. We really focus on an experience and the membership style of an agency, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to pour into you and see what you're up to. So yeah, thank you. Thanks.
We'll drop that in the notes. And guys, you heard it here. I mean, I think embracing just who you are uniquely, that God has made you to be on your journey. Obviously, Daniel's a redheaded ginger from South Africa, and he plays into that a lot. But it's also just who he is. You know, it's like hopefully that came out on the podcast of just your quirks are what make you cool. You know,
I have to, man.
That's why I like hanging around you, man. It's just you're just yourself with your pink. Parrots and cheetahs on your shirt.
For sure. Let's go.
And part of being an entrepreneur is the willingness to just step out on your own and say, hey, stake your flag in the ground of like, here I am. Nobody else is responsible for me.
Expose
yourself. My own. You really expose yourself. And so if you're listening to this and that's you, hopefully this made some impact on you. And until next time, thanks for listening.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Have fun.